Well, hello, everyone, and welcome to a new episode of He Said, a look at the world from a seasoned black man's perspective. I'm your host, Alvin King, and welcome to this Friday, May the 12th. I don't know if any of you have noticed it or not, but we are vastly approaching the middle of the year. That's right. It is almost summer, and I don't know about you guys, but I am truly ready for it. But again, hope you guys are doing well. Welcome to our show tonight. Before we go a step further, I want to salute our nurses tonight. It is National Nurses Week, and I want to salute all the men and women who do the things that I truly cannot do. I mean, if I see someone's finger bleeding, I will faint. So you all, I know you do more than put band-aids on fingers, but you guys are truly appreciated, and I wanted to acknowledge that. One more thing while I'm talking about nurses, for those of us who have iPhones, that COVID exposure notification, it was turned off today. All right. So no longer will you get a notification telling you that somebody around you has been exposed to COVID or whatever. Not that you were paying attention to it anyway. But my thing in sharing this with you tonight is don't let your guards down. Okay. Just because you don't get a notification, there are people out there who are still walking around, not taking care of themselves. And next thing you know, you are dealing with what they're dealing with because they're not taking care of themselves. You got that? All right. All right. And I also want to talk for a moment about our brother Jamie Foxx, ladies and gentlemen. As you know, he's been hospitalized for several weeks. I saw the news today that he was home. But what I wanted to mention about that was kind of, we're still praying for Jamie, whatever he's going through, none of us knows. But I'm looking at all these celebrities that are posting about, they're praying for him, and they're kind of giving you the impression that they've been sitting in his room and how he's doing and talking about his, how he's doing, but not really telling you how he's doing. And it sounds a little self-serving to me, when they're doing it. I'm not saying that they're not, caring about him, but because they're doing it, they're saying it, people are like flocking to their Twitter pages or whatever, and they're getting a little bit more street cred on information that's not even really put out there by his family. So I'm just saying that's really annoying to me, but we still need to pray for Jamie Foxx because he is still not where we can see him. We don't know what's going on. And last but not least on that celebrity list, Jonathan Majors, ladies and gentlemen, he has been released from something else because he couldn't practice, anger management and by putting his hands on someone. But he has been released from Disney. Actually, he was going to play, I think it was a Marvel character, and they released him from that role because, again, he couldn't manage his anger. And that's all I'm going to say to that. But on the flip side of that, we all know being a black brother, a black actor, being as, as popular as he is, he will not bounce back like someone else who's not black, back into Hollywood. So please pray for him, ladies and gentlemen. All right. That's my little rambling about that. Our show tonight is called Author Talk. And we didn't intentionally do this, but in honor of National Teachers Week, we have two amazing brothers on here. First of all, returning with us is Brendon Slocumb. He was here last year, and we got a little game about that. He was here last year with his book, The Violin Conspiracy, and he's back this week to talk about Symphony of Secrets. His new book, ladies and gentlemen, is hot. I got it. Wait a minute, hold on. I got it. It's hot. Okay, Brendon is here tonight, ladies and gentlemen, to talk about his new book. And We See You, where we recognize the Black owned and operated businesses, we have, Story J of the Storytime Show. He is here tonight in our segment of We See You, and we cannot wait to talk with him. All right. So I'm ready to get on with the show. So if you all are, let's get on with the chat.
Hey,
what's up?
Hey, gentlemen.
How y'all doing? How y'all doing?
Happy Friday. Fantastic. Yeah, happy Friday to you guys. Yeah, I'm back from a quick little trip to New York City. where I got to see Life of Pi. Are you familiar with it? It's about
The movie is on a play. It's a play.
It is on Broadway, and it is
Stop.
really amazing. And the night that we went to see, as we're going in, people are leaving saying, "Oh my gosh, I can't believe there's an understudy on." I'm like, understudies can sometimes be fantastic.
I went somewhere. Maybe
it was a female. Anyway, we got there. People were leaving because they didn't want to see the understudy who was on. Turns out that it was a female understudy for the role of Pi, which is the first time it had ever been done with female. And the storytelling was so amazingly different. And we happened to be sitting 2 rows behind her mom and all of her friends. So it was a really, really magical experience. It was great.
I love that movie. I didn't know that it was on Broadway. I didn't know that. Yeah.
Totally magical experience. Yeah.
Okay. But real quick, guys, before we get to, let's say hi to some of these folks that have come up in here. How you doing, Blue? I think Blue said hello earlier. Monica here. Let me see. Blue, George Pringle. Monica's here. And Michi is here. How you doing?
Hey, y'all.
See, that's what friends are for, because I be paying attention. Michi wasn't here last week, y'all. Okay, I don't know if she was like busy or anything, but somebody wasn't here, and so Michi wasn't here. I know he's popular and stuff, but that's all I'm gonna say. I'll be paying attention.
Maybe she follows Bobby, because Bobby was not here last week.
You think?
There you go, Sherlock.
But we're glad she's here tonight. How you guys doing? Thank you for joining us.
Good to see everybody. It's good to be back with you guys. I missed you guys last week.
Thank you. Welcome back. Thank you.
Nice to meet you.
So what's going on with you?
Well, actually, as you mentioned, it is Teachers Appreciation Week. And all of you guys know I am an educator over almost 40 years now. In education, and it's been a great week. I can say at my school in particular, the teachers have really been, the Parents Association actually put together a whole lot of goodies for us this week. We got t-shirts, we had lunch catered by Panera, we had, what is that gourmet popcorn that comes out of Chicago?
Caramel and
Chicago popcorn?
No, it's one name. It's I forgot the name, but we had that popcorn sent to us. They've been treating us all week. And today we had some fun they have a spinning wheel that has all of these gift cards on it. And so we spin the wheel and we get like a gift card. And I got a $25 gift card to Panda Express. So the next time I'm in the mall, I don't have to pay for a little something to eat. So yeah, so it's been a great week. But that said, it's also an opportunity for us to really reflect on and show appreciation for the teachers who impacted our lives. All of us can remember a teacher who saw in us things that we didn't necessarily see in ourselves, who encouraged us, who inspired us, just as well as we can remember those teachers who broke our spirits and didn't necessarily make us feel seen and affirmed. So I wanted to ask you guys, is there a teacher that you can remember that that you felt like really kind of changed the trajectory of your education or just impacted you as a learner?
Oh, I'm going to jump right in real quick. First of all, Michi's an educator, and Michi was closing out last week, so she couldn't be here. But I'm giving her so much love. I know she's an educator. I have to say that I went to McKinley Tech Senior High School back in the early 70s, and one of the persons there, he just passed away, the former principal of McKinley Tech, Dr. Athol Q. Liggins.
Wow.
He was a staple in Washington, D.C. He pretty much changed my life. Those 3 years at McKinley for me were heavenly because of him.
Wow.
I mean, he knew everybody at the school, treated you like you were his kid, corrected you. That's when parents didn't have to worry about their kids going to school because the teachers was going to make sure that they got, discipline.
Absolutely.
The right way. So mine go out to Dr. Athol Q. Liggins. Yes. Mm-hmm.
Wow.
Mm-hmm. How about you, Vash?
Mine goes out to Mr. David Wilson because he was sexy and he was an English teacher and the track coach. And because of him, I really paid attention in English class because I really wanted to, impress my teacher because I thought he was sexy.
So you had a crush on your teacher?
Oh my gosh, yes, I did.
Not quite the direction I thought this was going to go, but never.
But because of that crush, I really did.
What is the name of the show?
He said.
That's right. And he said what he said. So
He
go
said
ahead,
what he
Bosh.
fine English teacher.
In that same spirit, and I realize now that we didn't plan this, but we all ended up choosing males. So I'm going to shout out Miss Williams, who was one of my art teachers, who just was really just extraordinary, and I love her very much and still love her. But the person that I think of most immediately is a man named Michael Durso. He was the principal of our school. He, like you said, Alvin, knew all of the students. This was a man who has a photographic memory to be able to remember every child that belonged in that school. I remember trying to sneak one of my cousins who attended another school in with me that day, gave her books, gave her a jacket and all that. And we walked past him and he said, Mr. Edwards, are you going to introduce me to your kid? and we just had recently our 40th, couple of years now, 40th high school reunion. And the greatest thing that I could have done for my classmates, we had Mr. Durso at our reunion, and he's like a superstar still to all of us all these years later. So shout out to Michael Durso, and thanks for all the love and the impact on all of our lives.
Wow, it's pretty much, I went to my high school reunion 45 years last year, and Dr. Liggins was there, and he passed shortly thereafter. So we got a chance to salute him last October as well. So similar story.
Him with some love. That's wonderful.
Mm-hmm. All love.
That's
all right.
So all those educators out there, we thank you. You make a difference.
Thank you. And tonight's show is full of educators, okay? And we didn't plan this, ladies and gentlemen, but I'm telling you, when the spirit moves, it moves. And so it put this show together and their schedules, because these guys are very, very busy. And if you all are ready, I want to let's get on with the show so we can talk to them. This is like a huge two-parter tonight. So if you guys are ready.
Yes.
You want to do it? Okay. Hey, Sean, thank you for joining us. All right. So our first guest, Brendon Slocumb, was born in Yuba City, California, and was raised in Fayetteville, North Carolina. He holds a degree in music education with concentration in violin and viola from the University of North Carolina at Greensboro. For more than 20 years, he has taken a public and private school music He has been a public and private school music educator and has performed with orchestras throughout Northern Virginia, Maryland, and Washington, D.C. But tonight, off of his busy schedule, we are honored to have him back on He Said, to talk about his new musical suspense thriller, Symphony of Secrets. Please welcome to our stage again, Mr. Brendon Slocumb. Hey, Brendon.
Hello, gentlemen.
See, I got to say, it's about the voice for me. It's the voice, okay? It is the voice. Welcome back, my brother. How you doing?
I'm tired, but I'm really, really happy to be here. It is truly an honor to be welcome back. So thank you guys so much for having me.
Well, you are so welcome, but that's because you're doing some great things, buddy, and people can't keep their eyes off of you. At least not he said. So again, I want to congratulate you on your new book, Symphony of Secrets. And, can you just, in about 60 seconds, let us know what you've been up to for a minute before I go into my next question for you.
Sure. I have been promoting Symphony of Secrets, and I'm actually still promoting Violin Conspiracy that came out last year. I'm on a book tour right now, and for the last couple of weeks, I have literally been across the country. I've been to Los Angeles, San Francisco, Phoenix, Detroit, Cleveland, Boston, Greenville. Where am I today? I'm in Pittsburgh right now.
Oh, wow.
And I get to go home on, I don't even know what today is, but I get to go home in a couple of days, rest up for a little while, and I get to start writing my next book. So I'm really excited. Things are happening.
Well, it's funny that you just said that, because one of the things I wanted to find out before we move on, how does it feel knowing that you have two novels that are, clearly heating up the literary lanes, and they're all doing well at the same time? How do you feel about that, Brendon?
Every single day, I pinch myself. And you have to apologize for this background. I'm in my hotel room. I checked in a little bit ago, and I was kind of slowing. But literally pinch myself every day because I can't believe it. It's just, I mean, this came out of nowhere, and the support that I've gotten is incredible. And, you know, I'm extremely grateful for it. It's amazing.
Well, thank you so much for sharing that, my man. Thank you for being here.
Thank you.
Wow. So, Brendon, it's so good to see you. Well, you're amazingly good looking. You sound amazing. Like, I mean, you know, we're all like pitter patter. How have you personally changed?
He also wrote a book, Vash.
I understand that. And I loved it. I loved the first book. It was really amazing. How have you changed as a person and as an author since that book?
Wow. Well, first, thank you, Vash, for that compliment. I really appreciate that. I like to think that I'm still the same person. I'm just even more grateful. I was already grateful, you know, pre-book, but now it's my gratitude has expanded tenfold. As a writer, since the first book, I think I'm much more free. I can take more risks. I can give more in-depth detail about subject matter that people would be a little uncomfortable reading. And it's not so tough for me to do. It's like, you know, well, maybe I should calm down a little bit so people won't be so offended. But now I'm just like, yeah, I can just go for it. I can keep it real throughout everything that I write.
Wow.
I love it.
And your publisher is just like, hey, just give it to us. We don't care.
More.
Yeah.
More.
Right on.
Give it to us. Give it to us.
I'm honored to meet you. I've heard about you. I actually remember seeing a story about you that was on the news here in the DC area when your first book came out. So it's really an honor to meet you. So the Violin Conspiracy tells the story of a musician who ultimately finds out that his family's violin is a Stradivarius and takes him on this mysterious, thrilling journey. Now, the Symphony of Secrets, tell us what that's about and tell us how it differs from your first novel.
Symphony of Secrets takes place in two time periods. One is in the present, where a professor, Bernd Hendricks, is tasked with authenticating a long lost opera, which is supposed to be America's greatest opera. The world has been waiting for this thing, and it has been discovered after 100 years, and he gets to authenticate it. So it's a huge deal. And in the past, Freddie Delaney meets a woman named Josephine Reed. They are both musicians. They are both composers, and they have a really interesting relationship, both emotionally and professionally. And then back in the present, Professor Hendricks discovers with his tech-savvy friend, Ebony, this guy may not have written any of his music, and it may have been written by someone else. And so the people that hired him will do anything in their power to keep that a secret.
Ooh, intrigue.
Ooh, I don't know if I'm loving the word ebony more. You know, because I don't want to get, because I've been reading the book. So, but Ebony is just, every time I see or read Ebony's name, it just does something to me. So I don't know what it is. And real quick before we forget, Bobby, I just want to refresh your memory. You and I met Brendon at the same time.
Where?
We were at a social where Brendon was his book. He was actually the person that we all came to the social to see, and it was on a rooftop, and that's where I met Brendon. And immediately I thought, let me get him on the show. But you were at that party. That's all right. Keep sipping. But you were there. You were there with me.
Popcorn. Bobby.
You were there with me. So I just wanted to make sure you knew that. But Brendon, okay, the Violin Conspiracy was solid. Okay, all right. But like you said, you have confirmed what I was thinking. You seem to be having so much more fun with writing Symphony of Secrets. I mean, you have a refreshing, a looseness, an excitement and confidence that I just feel when I read the book. And clearly the novel will appeal to a thriller fan and not just a person who's into classical music. What were some of your favorite moments in writing Symphony of Secrets?
Well, that's a good question. I think one of my favorite parts was, I really like writing family interactions. And there's a chapter where Bern and Ebony go down to North Carolina and they meet the family, the descendants of Josephine Reed. And that was one of my absolute favorite scenes to write, because the entire family, every single person in that family that Burn and Ebony meet, are actually based on my family members. So every bit of dialogue, that's what my aunts would say. That's what they would say to each other. And, you know, when my cousins read it, they were like, oh my gosh, you nailed it. That was my mom. That was my mom. That was my aunt. So that was a lot of fun for me to write. But to be perfectly honest, I really enjoy pushing a little bit. Like, there are some scenes where it gets racially, what's the word? Racially
heated.
Yeah, okay, yeah, very much so. Because it takes place in the 1920s, and I wanted it to be as authentic as humanly possible. You know, I'm not going to whitewash things or sugarcoat it just because it might make some people uncomfortable. You know, I think that's the best way to heal. To acknowledge this is what happened, this is what it was. So, you know, I'm not going to take it away because someone might be a bit uncomfortable. So yeah, that was kind of fun to do too.
I thought it was quite interesting in reading the book, how, I'm going to say this and I hope it's not offensive, but it reminded me of This Is Us, how you kept going back into time and then coming back. You know what I'm saying? It had that kind of feel. And for me, that keeps my interest, because I'm going back in time and I'm actually following you and then coming back. And I just love the way you did that to help tell this story. I love that piece of the book also.
Thank you.
Well, the next question is from me to my old friend Brendon.
I wasn't going to say anything, Bobby. You just seemed like you were really excited to meet for the first time. So I was like, okay, I let him do it.
It's a hat.
That was clearly for the audience, but you know, like your dear friend Brendon. But what I was going to ask you is, historically, the artistic talents of people of color have often been hijacked. Often their contributions erased throughout history. It certainly made me think about the whole one of the movies I saw recently that I really enjoyed, Chevalier, and looking at how after he became a revolutionary, there was a effort to really just kind of erase his talents altogether. Can you tell us at all if that kind of historical fact informed this work, but in any way?
Absolutely, especially in the 1920s. Jazz really is prevalent in this story because jazz is truly an American art form. And, you know, Black people created jazz and other races hijacked it. And there's one composer in particular, George Gershwin, who wrote Porgy and Bess, which is America's greatest opera. You know, and he would actually go to the clubs in Harlem. You know, Black people couldn't go uptown to where the white clubs. So George Gershwin would go to the clubs in Harlem, listen to all the songs that were being sung, that being played, that were written by Black musicians. And what do you know? He comes up with this opera. That's a little bit suspect. And yeah, it happens all the time. It's still even happening today. You know, with the case with Ed Sheeran last week.
Just recently.
Yeah. And, you know, it's a good thing I wasn't on that jury because it sounded just like Let's Get It On to me. I'm just saying, that's just me.
So you're suggesting that you all would still be there if it were up to you? Because I mean,
you know, I'm just saying, I got an ear, and I'm just saying. But yeah, things like this happen all the time, and there have been so many Black people whose art, you know, whose paintings, whose poetry, whose writing, whose music has been lost because someone else has commandeered it, because you're not good enough to do this. No one is ever going to take you seriously as a Black musician. Let me do this instead. That's a sad truth.
Makes me think of some of the recording artists during the 60s who actually recorded songs. And if you looked at their albums or the covers, like they were actually had white people on the covers of the albums to sell them.
Oh yeah, absolutely. It's you know, it's still happening today. It's really sad. And I wanted to bring awareness to that, you know, that basically giving a voice to voiceless people who will never be heard. I wanted to bring attention to that.
You are speaking, your words are like affirmations to me right now. And I'm just going to say that. I'm like, Brendon, thank you. Yeah, thank you. like you said, it is happening now, even though I think, a lot of artists are finding ways to protect themselves from this. Somehow it's still happening.
Right.
And that's the part that's kind of disappointing to me.
I think personally, it's still, I didn't mean to cut you off, Alvin. I'm sorry.
Oh, no, go ahead.
I think it's still happening because people feel entitled. People feel that they can get away with it. And a lot of times, people just don't think that they have a recourse. What can I do?
Right.
Like you need to fight for your property. You need to fight for what it is that you worked for. That's your talent that someone else is taking credit for, and it's not right. If it were reversed, I guarantee you, people would go all out they would go all out to make sure that it didn't happen to them. So people have more resources than they're aware of. Fight for what's yours. You put the work in, and you deserve the credit. Don't let anybody else take that credit from you.
You all heard. You all heard what he said.
Put him out.
You don't have to be in the process of writing a book. Listen to what he just said. Do not let someone take advantage of you, people. Know your self-worth.
Exactly. And
do not let someone tell you that you're not better than you know that you are. No one can tell you that. Pass the plate for Brendon, okay? Please, while we're here. All right.
Buy the book. That's what they do. Buy the book.
Oh, well. And you know what? We're going to get to that. Thank you, Bobby. Hold on. David said, thank you for joining us, David. David just said tonight that random. I remember the first time I'd seen white representation on Black music was the Isley Brothers.
Wow.
Okay, because David, how old are you? 12? How old are you, David? But anyway. Brendon. Recently, and I think I tagged you on this, you said that you were destined to become the Stephen King of music thrillers.
Wow.
Tell me what did you mean by that?
All right. So I have some lofty expectations of myself. And I'm like, I'm having so much fun writing and meeting people and people talking to me saying that as a result of reading these books, they've something has awakened in them. They've changed in some way for the better. So I want to keep doing it. And you think of horror novels, you think Stephen King, and I want to be that person. When you think of musical thrillers, think Brendon Slocumb. That's what I want to be. And every one of my books is going to have some type of musical slant. And I'm just going to go ahead and tell you guys now, I just got another 2-book deal. So I'm really excited about that.
Wonderful.
Right on.
You know what? And see, and what an excellent segue, first of all, but before you leave here, ladies and gentlemen, we have a book giveaway. Now, we have a book giveaway for you tonight. That's right. Now, hold on. Don't think that I'm giving you mine because I have mine right here. Okay, so don't think I love you, but I don't love you that much, folks. Okay,
no one believes that for a second.
I got mine. But this is what's going to happen. So we want you, if all of you who are watching and online, if you could type into the chat the date that Brendon was last on He Said, then you will have this book sent to you. All right, the actual date. And Vash, you want to elaborate on that?
I do. It needs to be the perfect hashtag. It has to match because we're going to use the system within StreamYard to pick the winner. So it needs to be in a specific format. So let's just say, everybody, Alvin, Bobby, Brendon, for example, if let's just pick a date. If the date happened to be April 15th, 2022, you should put hashtag 15 April 2022. I'm just saying if that happened to be the date. It doesn't, you enter once, just type it in the comment wherever you're watching. Just type it once. It doesn't matter how many times you do it, and we'll be able to pick a winner from that. But type that in, and we'll ultimately be able to find who won and give you a book.
So they ready, set, go. All right. Well, ladies and gentlemen, we know
the answer, right?
Huh? Say what?
We know the answer.
You know the answer.
Well, I was actually on the show. Yeah, I do. I was actually. I think I was there, but I'm not. Can't be certain because some people pretend to be busy. I'm not. Okay, I'm not that busy. I don't forget where I am. But anyway, that's another talk show. No, we were all there. But ladies and gentlemen, we have to let this brother go. Brendon, we really picked and choose how we wanted to have our communication with you because we know that you've been on the go and we know that you've been busy, but we had to get the word out about, Symphony of Secrets. It is excellent, and congratulations.
Guys, how much I appreciate it. Thank you so much for having me back. And, when my next book comes out, hopefully you'll have me back again. I would love to be here. And Bobby, I'll be like, I can't wait to meet you again.
I even have a picture with him the day we met you. So that's all I'm gonna say. I got receipts, and so I know that.
Good seeing you again, bro.
but Brendon, thank you for joining us again. Don't go away. We want to bring you back, to say goodnight. But thank you for joining us and for indulging us in this conversation. And congratulations again.
Thank you, guys. Thank you very much.
All right. Well, guys, wasn't that sweet?
My good old friend Brendon. Yeah.
I really enjoyed talking to Brendon, and I'm so happy for his success. And like I said, the Violin Conspiracy is still gaining traction. It's still out there climbing the literary, walls and or whatever they call it when a book just keeps on selling. So for him to be out there doing double duty,
right?
That's a blessing.
Also on the new 2-book deal. That's wonderful. He said exclusive.
Yeah, yes it is. Yes it is. Well, our next guest, ladies and gentlemen, if you guys are ready, I want to go ahead and get him in here so we can have that talk with him. This is our segment, We See You. And for those of you who don't know, We See You is our segment where we honor Black-owned and operated businesses. And so we want to make sure if you have someone out there that has a Black-owned and operated business, hey, turn them on to us because we want to bring him on. But this gentleman has come from, I'm just going to say faraway place, but I'm going to go ahead and introduce him, ladies and gentlemen. This writer and art teacher hails from New Orleans, Louisiana, and moved to Los Angeles, California in 2005 to pursue a career in animation. After graduating film school, his hopes were to create children's shows and characters that looked like him. When that didn't work out, he decided to follow his parents' footsteps and became an educator and teaching little kids. But as fate would have it, he got a job at a local day camp and became a storyteller. And so it is. Well, he's here tonight to share more about his amazing career. Please welcome Mr. Story J of the Storytime Show, ladies and gentlemen. Hey, Story J.
Hello. How are you guys doing?
Welcome. Good to see you.
Thank you guys for having me. Thank you so much for having me.
No, thank you for being here. Been following you. Thanks to Vash turned me on to you. I'm gonna give Vash that credit. And I have been like, where has this guy been? I mean, you just like all of a sudden you became my new. What's that show that used to come on? The cartoons used to come on. The Black Albert. What
Fat
was
Albert
it? Fat Albert, not Black Albert, and the Jacksons. Did I say Black Albert?
You did.
I did. The black guy who was full figure. Yeah, it was. but welcome to the show tonight, Story J.
Thank you.
My God. This is live. Okay, Story J.
That comes down is what I'm going to
say. Story J, if you could, for our viewers, because we're just meeting you, take about 60 seconds to tell our viewers, who is Story J?
Well, Story J is me, Jason Williams. I am from New Orleans, and now I'm in LA. I started out in 2005 as a teacher, and I can actually say the name of the school, Pinecrest Schools. And I was a substitute teacher, then slowly became kind of like the camp counselor there. And then from there, I learned that after going through education here, which was actually my first time teaching here because I used to teach in New Orleans. I transferred here, and then in pursuing animation here, I also did education, but I also I don't mean to start all over again, but sorry, this is my first time being interviewed, so bear with me a little bit. Usually I'm the one that's on the interviewing end, so at Story J, I'm the one that interviews, so sorry about that. So anyway, I started working at Sierra Canyon in 2012, and that was where they actually needed a camp counselor. Now, and not only that, but also someone to handle the Storytime program at camp. And they knew that I also wrote some books, and they knew I did cartoons. So they asked me, like, can you kind of mix the two? Can you just do some stories with the kids? And I asked them, well, can I do a little more than that? Can I teach them animation? Can I do my own stories? And they were like, all for it. And I created something called Story Court, where we put the characters on trial, and we did all sorts of like original stories. And I took fairy tales that were already fairy tales, but I also took comic book characters that were, since comic books are like the huge thing right now, Marvel characters, the MCU, and I would shrink them down and make them into the little three little super pigs, and little Prince Panther, and Fluke and the Beanstalk, because I can't say Luke because Star Wars and Disney might sue me, so I have to change the names a little bit. So Thor becomes Thortylocks, people like that. So, and I loved it. I absolutely loved it. And so when the pandemic came, I had to rearrange my Storytime program. And originally I was going to just have it virtually at camp and do it here, like at home, but also do it remotely. And it took off kind of like, I didn't expect that many people to be on board for it. So it not only took off like for people who were watching at camp, but it also took off for people who were watching just on YouTube, just everywhere else. And next thing I knew, I started getting interviews from people, podcasts, interest in the show. And I realized then that the show had the potential to reach way more kids than just camp kids. And I could reach more. If I could reach more kids, I could do what I always wanted to do, which was have a show that has kids of all communities, and show kids that look like me and look like you and look like everybody, and have a show that actually has inclusion and representation, not just as a fad, but for something that's always, for something, every story, for every adventure, for every type of story. And I wanted kids to be seen. So I wanted kids to see what they see in the mirror, on the page and on the screen.
Right. Well, is it, and I just want to make sure, because I know that we had talked about having like a clip, or at least to run, and I want to make sure that I want to see if it's there. And so if we can, do we have a piece of story time that
we could definitely show a little piece of story time, just to give people a quick little vibe of what it's like to be a part of Story J, and like what he does with the kids. It's just a random.
Let's see.
Ladies and gentlemen, we are so live that, you know, again, you can come over. Yes, there we go.
Exactly, LPP.
Wasn't I being a good helper by getting the book you wanted?
You were, kiddo, and you are. But interrupting someone or dropping books that aren't yours may not be the best way of being a helper, even when you're so ready to help out.
Maybe raising our hands, so I should ask next time.
That would make me happy, buddy. Just like you guys were helpful today in delivering the books to me.
Or like our teacher when she helped us out today in teaching us and taking us on field trips and getting your books.
Yes, just like that. She helped get my stories to me just in time. She was an amazing helper.
I love it. See, look, ladies and gentlemen, creativity at its best. Did you see that?
Thank you very much.
Did you all see that? So and I just have one more question before, you know, I release you to these, you know, these hosts, because there's something else. So is there anything, any moments that from doing the story time with Story J that you would like to share as one of your favorites, and particularly one of your favorite characters from what you do?
That is hard. I would have to say Little Prince Panther. I'd have to say Little Prince Panther is my favorite character. Even though Thortylocks is only because he's like my right-hand man, because that's me doing the voice, and he's kind of like a good, quick character. Like most people use Muppets, or I use cartoons, so Thortylocks is my right-hand man. But I would have to say Little Prince Panther is my #1 favorite because he's my go-to guy for my conscience, my heart, my everything in the show. When I first made the cartoon for Little Prince Panther, the original short for it, that one was tough because I knew it was at a time when it was right after it came right after George Floyd, and it was actually more of a response to George Floyd and Trayvon Martin and everybody who had come and all the kids who had been shot or just misrepresented or anything. And when it came at a time when we couldn't even wear hoodies. Remember that? Like when a hoodie was now like a uniform of what the quote unquote thug. And so I decided to make a cartoon or a short that could teach or talk to Black kids and kids of color and moms of color who have had to have the talk with their kids about like, okay, if you go outside, don't do this, don't do that. And I had to make some sort of response, and some sort of, whether it's animated or whatever, I had to make some sort of response, and that was Little Prince Panther.
Okay. Thank you for that. Okay. All right. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Well, look,
thank you for asking.
Well, he's very cute. He's cute. I saw it. I watched it. I was like, he's so cute. Big Black Panther fan. Big.
That's my tribute to him.
I have written the name down. So when I leave here tonight, don't call me anybody because I'll be looking at Storytime with Story J.
Okay. Thank you. Thank you so much. I appreciate that.
So Jay, it takes a village to raise children because it takes all different types of representations to be visible to children for them to have even a comprehension of how to create a path to become who they are.
Sure.
As of late, this whole notion of what masculinity has really begun to be looked at and challenged and explored and expanded. I want to know, like, what have your experiences been being a Black man, having to then deal with these stereotypes of masculinity that go along with that?
There's a bunch that goes into that question because, I mean, number one, it puts you as a target. I can say that even as a school teacher, I can say it puts you as a target. One of the reasons, I don't like to talk about this part that much, but I'll say it anyway. One of the reasons that I shifted to remote was because I needed a safe place to teach kids. And it was getting to a point where it had gotten to a point where even though my old schools and all of the schools had always protected me, it was getting to the point where parents were starting to get a little where they could use a child as a pawn and say that this happened with my kid and there's no proof or anything about it that you can say otherwise about. And I had to get myself out of that situation. I saw that happening more and more with a lot of Black teachers, a lot of male teachers, not only just like in schools, like just here, Louisiana, whether it was Louisiana, anywhere in the country, I would start seeing that more and more. And I was starting to see a pattern. And I have anxiety about a lot of things. I have anxiety about what teachers are going through now with school shootings. I have anxiety about what Black teachers are going through, being put as unnecessary, unintentional targets, whether it's for parents or for kids to use the system in ways that they can like sue or use their child, which is a horrifying, sad situation, but I see it happen. So I was like, I don't want to put myself in that system anymore. It's like, I love teaching. I love working with kids, but certain school systems, I'm not going to say all the school systems that I've worked for were wonderful, but I can also see there's always like a breakdown with administration and teachers, and that's a problem. And it's, as you can see, it's a problem now nationwide. So as a Black teacher, as a Black educator, I really have to be careful. I really have to be careful as I have to watch myself. I have to watch, even in doing story time, I have to be very careful in every single situation, every single decision I make.
I'm sure. Wow. Yeah.
It certainly resonates with me as an educator, and I work at a K through 12 school myself. So I completely get it. That you, and so it kind of, it's a natural lead into the question that I was going to ask you around the whole notion that inclusive education in general in America is clearly under attack. And so you kind of mentioned that in terms of some of your own anxieties and being a target in doing some of this work. But what I'd like to ask you is the notion of, because I once headed an elementary school program, there were times I really had to talk to parents about the fact that young children, kindergarten through grades 4 in my instance, were not too young for inclusive education. A lot of times people are saying, they're too young, I don't want them to know about certain things, they won't understand it and process it. Can you tell us a little bit about how you engage that discussion if someone were to say that the concepts that you seek to cover through your art is just too advanced for young kids?
I would have to give them my own personal experience. I would have to say, I can still remember the first time I read The Snowy Day by Ezra Jack Keats.
Absolutely. Classic.
And yeah, little black boy in his red jacket and everything, red coat, goes out, has a fun day in the snow. I had never seen a little black child in a book. I've seen, like, Spider-Man, Peter Parker, Tom Sawyer, everything, like Peter Pan, everybody was always the same color. So to see a little boy who looked like me, and there was a book, I swear, I wish I could remember the name of it, but God bless Miss Minor, my pre-K teacher, I still remember.
Yeah, another shout out
me to this book.
There you go.
It was this old book, I want to say it was in the 60s, and I haven't found it since. I've still been Googling it, everything. And it was about a little black boy in the city who wanted to be a cowboy so bad. And it wasn't until like the Iceman or something with an ice truck who had a horse, and now he could be a cowboy, this whole thing. But the illustrations in that book, it just took me away. I was like, finally, there was somebody who looked, and I thought he looked just like me. So I loved this book. It matters. It really, truly matters to see yourself, to see somebody who looks like you, who comes from the same place that you do.
Yes.
In a book, in a cartoon, whatever. So to see an entire state ban Black history from colleges and high schools, and to say that you can't learn anything about LGBTQ. In my opinion, I'm like, okay, I'm inviting a drag queen to read on my show. If you don't like it, you can always click off, whatever. But I'm inviting everybody to do read alouds on my show. I'm inviting of every community. So if they don't like it, there's the door out of YouTube. You can click on anything else. But I'm here. I'm going to have a safe space for my kids.
Amen. I love it. I love it. I love it.
Thank you. And all kids are my kids. So let me just say that. So, as a teacher.
Right. Amen. So I want to talk to you about the status of education. We sort of talked about that. I want to go even further into that. So when Brown versus the Board of Education of Topeka, Kansas determined that separate but equal isn't equal, and they had to desegregate schools, everyone sort of thinks that trajectory was like, oh, we're just going to have great inclusive schools. People forget that the Board of Education, all those people, that institution was not happy about this decision. And the attack on public education for Black and Brown people has constantly still been under attack. And we can see that all the things that they have been doing are beginning to bubble to the surface, creating so much dissension into the public education system, and getting people to back charter schools and all these things to pull money out of public education. What's your take on all of that? And where are we?
Anger, honestly. Whenever I see that, it what's that saying by James Baldwin? To be conscious and to be Black in the United States is to be angry all the time. I know I might be messing that up, but yeah, that's basically where that puts me. I can't watch the news anymore. I have to be very careful about watching the news, because even the news is just kind of like, let's see if we can separate as much as possible and just
triggering. It can be triggering.
Absolutely, it's absolutely triggering. And when I see, like I was saying before, an entire state, or I should say 2 states, I think by now, a bunch of states actually. It's not even just 2. It's not even just Florida and Texas. Number one, I see fear. I know what it's about. It's about fear and insecurity. It's about trying to erase the mistakes that they made so that we would never find out about. It's about trying to erase entire culture, entire histories, and it's so easy to do. It's so easy to do. That's what I need people who are younger to understand, that this is important. What's happening in those states where people are erasing Black History Month and everything, is they have to be watchful of that, because it's so easy to erase a little bit of history. Let me give a tiny example. This is kind of far and away. You remember the show Romper Room?
Yeah. Yes.
I did not know that show existed. I didn't know that show existed until I was 30 years old. And the reason was because the lady who played, what was her name? Miss Mary, I think.
Miss Rebecca, something like that.
Miss Rebecca, whatever. I forgot her name. But that show was outlawed in the southern states. And I didn't until like around like 1970s, like late 70s. And the reason why was because they found out because of medical reasons, the lady had to have an abortion for medical reasons. And it got out, and the South said no more Romper Room. That's it. I don't care. Our kids cannot watch that show anymore.
Wow.
So I didn't even know that show existed.
Wow.
Oh my God.
That's easy. That's how I had to find out when I got here, when I got to LA, and people were saying like, you never heard of, look at the magic mirror, all that. I was like, no, I don't know what y'all are talking about. I know Captain Kangaroo, Reading Rainbow, Sesame Street, Dusty's Treehouse. I've never heard of this show.
You didn't see that.
That's how easy it is.
Yeah.
Well, thank you. That was some education that I didn't know, because I grew up on Romper Room, and I didn't know when it went off. I just thought that I was an adult and that I just need to go to school, get out the house. I thought it was over. But I'm going to change the mood for a little bit. I think Story J, you said that doing Story J saved your life.
Yeah.
Can you briefly tell us about what that means and how did that happen?
Kind of going back to what I was saying before about how we were saying about the news is triggering. After Breonna Taylor, after George Floyd, after it was basically like the summer of 2020. When I started doing the show, it just started out as just a virtual reading show for kids. And when I realized the impact it could have, I started doing more shows that were more inclusive and showed more representation for kids. But as the summer went on, certain political figures, I'm not going to say who, certain people who are, maybe under investigation right now, but kind of took the center stage. And if anybody remembers, like the summer of 2020, finally Black people were getting representation. We were getting seen more. Artists were getting seen more. Musicians were getting seen more. And then election season hit, and that was it. And seeing the events of the past politics, what politics has done, how the country has become divided, what the news is constantly putting out, like just thumbnail of mugshot of us, mugshot over and over and over again. And nobody willing to do anything about guns. Nobody willing to do anything about children being shot in schools and everything. I had to do something. And so this show was basically like almost like a journal. If someone just writes in a journal, they can write all their feelings out. I can respond some way with this. I can somehow tackle what's happening with some niceness, with some quiet, because the kids, they're just being inundated with all this stuff. They're just finding out some bad news constantly, over and over again, everywhere. Adults are finding out bad news over and over again. So I wanted some safe space, originally created for kids, that would show like a place where they had people that looked like them, that was safe, that was quiet, that didn't have all the mess of outside. And in doing so, I realized little by little, I was doing that for me too. Like I needed to see this. I need to hear this. And so I wrote the things I needed to see. I wrote the things I needed to hear. Because like we were saying, going back to what kids need to see growing up, I always wanted a big brother. And I wanted somebody who was there to tell me that no matter what, you are okay as who you are, little my friend. You are great. You are worthy of everything you want. I needed somebody to say that when I was growing up. I think a lot of kids and a lot of adults might need that too. So that's why I create this show. That's why I do this, because I need to hear these things too.
Well, we're glad you're here. Believe me. Okay. Thank you. Thank you for sharing that. Thank you.
I have it's kind of a strange question, but in watching some of your shows in preparation for our time together this evening, I noticed that most of the time, if not all of the times that I saw it, you have a hat on.
Oh,
what is the significance of the hat? And then you show up to
right here.
Where's the hat?
This is the hat. I wasn't sure if y'all wanted the hat or not, so I was like, okay, I'll be Jason Williams and be serious. And, do the serious talk.
It seems significant because every time I saw it, I was like, he's in that hat. So
yeah, there we go.
Story behind the hat?
I was like, let me put it right here just in case they want to see the hat. So let me get the familiar. Now I'm Story J.
Okay.
Now I have to be rated. I have to be very clean cut and everything.
So the hat is really your persona.
That, like, once I put the hat on, that's when I feel more relaxed right now. That's crazy.
Okay.
So I should have the hat on.
Okay.
But as Story J, like, yeah, I can kind of be cut out a little more. I can like relax a little more, but it's also, as my wife said, it's me, but how'd she put it?
In drag.
Me × 2 or me × 3 or something like that.
Why said in drag? Well, he said in drag. But first you're born naked. The
rest is drag.
The rest is drag. So okay. Well, look, we are unfortunately at the end of our interview. Yes, Story J, and so I real quick I want to ask you before we sign off and let you go. What's next for Story J? What's next for the Storytime Show? Yes.
So I will be premiering my first ever fully animated by me story that I did a while back for an author called 100 Days Inside. It's about a little girl's time, how she spent the first 100 days during the pandemic. Wow. And that's fully animated by me. I just completed all the animation for it. I'm just now waiting on Madison Wright, who's the co-author, who's about 11 years old, but is doing all the narration for it. So we're just waiting on that. That will be premiering soon with the next show. And hopefully the next show will be coming out soon. So live action, me and animation, doing all the animation as always. So
well, please stay in touch with us and let us know when that's happening, because we're going to be following you. So if you don't call us, we're going to call you. Okay.
Absolutely. I'll come back anytime you want me. Hopefully a lot later too. So thank you so much.
It's okay. Bring your hat. Well, don't go away. We're gonna bring you back. But ladies and gentlemen, please click for Story J.
Thank you so much for having me.
Thank you, sir. Thank you. Wow. Well, guys, I know we're getting close to the show, but it is Mother's Day.
Yes,
this Sunday is Mother's Day, and I just thought we thought, ladies and gentlemen, that it would be a good idea just to not necessarily have a long speech about it, but just show you our images of our mom and just say how much we appreciate them. So I'm going to start off first. My mom, Margaret King, we didn't take many pictures back then. So every year you're going to see this picture. This is one of my favorite pictures of her. And this next picture is, you can't see this dress, but I was 6 years old and I went with her to pick out this dress. And that's when I fell in love with fashion. Okay, I fell in love with fashion on this pleated A-line dress. And this last picture is my favorite picture. This is the picture that sits beside my bed. I miss her dearly, Margaret Virgie King. And happy Mother's Day to you.
Oh, sweet.
Oh, how sweet. Okay, I think I'm up next.
I think you are.
So we have my mom. That's Mary Edwards. I've nicknamed for her Queen Mary. And my mom lived to be 98 years old. I often refer to her as my first love. Here she is sporting one of her Easter hats. Here is another of one of my mother's Easter ensemble with the hat. My good brother down in Houston, Texas, Cedric Dubose, who is her milliner, who made sure that my mother made a statement every time she came out for Easter. And that's also one of my favorite shots. This was after church, and we went across the street. And she was working her black and white stylist by her son, of course. And so I want to send out a special heavenly love to my mother, my first love, Mary A. Edwards, aka Queen Mary.
Happy Mother's Day! Thank you.
Sweet mama, that's my mama. So my brother and I, that's me, the tall one, my brother at the bottom. So you can just get an idea of like what our eyes all look like. My mother she looks like a mail order bride, doesn't she?
She looks like Frida Payne, and that's a compliment. She looks like Frida Payne. I said, "Oh my God, Frida Payne!" Yes.
Totally. That's my mom, like back in the day. And then this is her just recently. My mom has always been a fashionista, always been into clothes, always looked impeccable, and I just love her. She taught me style and to be fashionable at all times. I was in high school before I wore my very first pair of jeans.
Wow.
Me too.
Yeah.
Me too.
Yeah.
Me too. Well, thank you guys. Happy Mother's Day, mothers. Thank you, Vash and Bobby, for sharing. If we could bring back Brendan and Story J, if they're back in the back, we want to bring them back before we close out. Next week, ladies and gentlemen, on May 19th, we're doing our Let's Get Newsy show as we prepare for Memorial Day weekend. So please tune in next week. And before we let them go, I want to share our words of the week. It wasn't until I started reading and found books they wouldn't let us read in school that I discovered you could be insane and happy and have a good life without being like everybody else. And those were the words of John Waters, ladies and gentlemen. So we want to close on that note, but we also want to close on saying thank you to Story J and to Brendon Slocumb, and congratulations once again to everything you guys are doing.
Yes,
absolutely.
Okay.
Author talk.
We love author talk. That's right.
Thank
you. So please come back again. And ladies and gentlemen, we look forward to seeing you next week on another new episode of He Said.
He said.
He said.
You all have a good night.
Good week, everybody.
Bye, guys. Thank you.
Good night.